everyone, Mipa here, trying to make your Monday a little better and maybe even something to look forward to. We're back with not a tutorial video. If any of you don't remember or recall, not a tutorial is meant to be a thing that I can do where I test out some things with my art style and kind of just play around with things. And maybe some people would find it helpful to reference it to their art style, but by no means is it meant to be that. It is just me practicing and testing some things out, and sure, the drawings don't always look top quality, but again, just messing around with things, trying to see what I think works with my style and what doesn't. So, today we're doing faces. Lately with my art style, I've felt like there's not much special about how I do faces because I always end up drawing characters or people in general that look my age, because with anything like proportions or anything, I am my reference. So all of my characters end up looking my age. And I wanted to try to figure out how maybe for when I want to do like child characters or parents of my characters, to know how to try and get some difference in their faces because they all look the same. And I was like, I don't think I should have it like that. So in this, I played around with their eyes mainly to try and make their eyes different, maybe like the sizing of stuff different, possibly even like the placement on their face and the head shape. I played a lot with the head shape, trying to get it how I wanted it to look. So please pardon me for like the million tries I do on their head shape, because I was trying to figure out I had like a very vague idea of what I wanted in my head. Like for the child, I wanted it to be really round, because to me, child heads are really round. So I wanted to try to do that while also making it look like their eyes are just massive compared to their face. And at the same time, trying to like give them bigger cheeks, because I don't know, whenever I'm told about children, they're like, oh, they have such chubby cheeks, and so I'm like, maybe I should attempt to do that on these children. How well I did that, I'm not sure. I think it looked at least good enough for this, and it's up for practice. The teenager one, I left pretty much the same, which is the one in the center. I left them pretty much the same because that's how I do everything with my art style. It's how they look. And then for the adult, I tried to make their face look a little bit more oval and smaller in a way. I tried to make their eyes and their face a bit smaller compared to their head, because I thought like for the teenagers, their eyes will still be kind of big compared to their head because they're still on the younger side. And then the adults' eyes will be smaller because their head has gotten bigger, but I guess their eyes didn't. I tried to attach at least some logic to this. So first I tested it off with the girls, and then I also did a separate one for the boys, because I also wanted there to be a differentiation in the face so you could tell the difference between a boy and a girl, because for the longest time there was no difference in my art style. They looked the same, except for like their hair. Like usually boys then had shorter hair and then girls had longer hair, but that was like the only tell in my art style. The only thing. And for a bit I have done it where the boys will then have more square eyes, because I have someone that I know where they draw boys, whereas I never did, but they did a lot, so I asked them for advice, and they said that they like made their eyes a little bit more square. So I started doing that on my art style. But I also wanted to figure out how to do that for the younger and the older version as well for them. I'm running out of breath already. Alright. So I wanted to test it out for them too. So I essentially did it the same way, because for the younger or more child-like people, I did it where the top part of the eye and the bottom part of the eye wasn't disconnected, where it was more of like a C shape, because I did that once for a random drawing that I did. It wasn't even like a human, it was just a weird character. I don't know how to explain it. It was based off of a weird dream I had. But I drew the eyes in that C shape, and I thought it made them look really young, and I was like, well, I wonder if I could do that to a human, give them that kind of relative eye shape, and then maybe they'll look more like a child. So I did that, and I think it worked pretty well. But other than that, for the boys, it was the same as I did for the girls, but more square. I also made the pupils for the adults a little bit more smaller to also make the eyes look smaller in general. And then the last thing I did was, because there was a different video I did, one of the other Nada tutorials, was side profiles. And I started looking at how I did noses from the front and how I did noses from the side, and my mind started going, how would I do the head turning? Because I've been doing a little animation project on the side. It's actually not that little, it's huge. But, you know, I've been doing a little bit of animating on the side, which I don't think you guys will see for a very long time, because it takes ages, man, to do animating. But that's not the point. I imagined if I animated someone turning their head, and I was like, how would the nose transition? And I started thinking about that. So for this one, I did a random character with like a ponytail, because why not? Just as something for their hair, but it was also out of the way. And I did it from the front, and then I did it from the side, and then tried to figure out something to do for one in between. Obviously there would be a lot of more in between frames, but I just wanted to do something to try and get an idea. And I've had characters kind of looking at this angle before, but I never really like thought about it much. So for this one, for doing this, I thought that like from the front, like the line that signifies their nose is kind of facing more up, but then as they turn their head, it starts facing more down, because in the side profile, it faces down when it's sticking out of their head. So as that happened, it would start facing down as they turned and eventually start like peeking out of their head, but I felt like that would be like an awkward, just random angle to do with no purpose. So it gave me an idea of what I would do in the future anyway. So here I was just putting down some labels real quick. And yeah, here, like, I had so many spelling errors there. But just quick labeled it, and here we are. This is what I've done. This is my practice. Again, they're not exactly the most top quality things, but that's kind of the point of not a tutorial. Sometimes I don't feel like doing a full-fledged, perfect illustration. It's just practice and testing things. And not a tutorial is kind of just a series where I feel like I can play around with stuff and not worry about it looking perfect. So yes, that's the video for this week. I hope you all enjoyed it, and feel free to try and use anything that I've said or done on your art style, but you know, there is never any pressure or me saying you should try this, because by no means am I trying to sound like an expert. There's a reason it's called not a tutorial, but that doesn't mean that you can't use it either if you feel like it'd be helpful. Either in any way. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week, everyone. Goodbye!